Hello. How's everyone doing today? I like to get into the thought of your day, your mental position, how you're feeling both physically, but more importantly, mentally. We're going to talk a little bit today about intimacy. What is intimacy? Now, I want you to think about your relationship, how it started, what it felt like, all of the excitement, all of the things that was so good at the beginning. Now, let's think about what's going on today. I don't know how much time was spent in relationship, but I want you to think about what is intimacy and is it good right now? Or are there other things that's causing conflict in your relationship? Are there words? Are there things that are just breaking it down? Are there kids that's causing more conflict? Is there a disconnect in relation to how you deal with the kids, which in turn causes conflict or issues? So, young lady Catherine, talk to me. What's your thought? What is intimacy?
I think intimacy is something that we all experience, or most of us experience, especially starting off in relationships. When you think about how you said going back to how we all started off and everything, and usually there's some attraction, there's some physical attraction, there's some mental attraction and things like that. But a lot of times when you think about relationships when they're starting off, the intimacy may be good, and not just sexual intimacy, but the things that we do for each other, sending flowers, holding hands, touching each other, sharing, getting to know each other. All of those things are, you know, things that I think are intimacy, and those are the things that attract you to a person and make you want to be with a person. Well, sometimes when we're on, later on in a relationship, based on what's going on with us, those things stop, and you often hear people say, well, what happened? You don't send me any flowers anymore. You don't touch me anymore. You don't kiss me anymore. We don't say I love you and all of that stuff. And people give excuses as, I got kids. We're busy with the kids. We get busy with life. We're busy with all of this stuff, so we don't have time for intimacy. You see people making time for intimacy by making date nights and stuff like that in order to regain that intimacy. But what happens to break down the intimacy? When do we get so caught up in other things that the intimacy stops? And when we disagree on things, when we argue about things, when we have other life issues in the way, such as working kids and all of that stuff, those things cut down on the intimacy. And usually, when the intimacy is cut down on, it usually is signaling a breakdown of the relationship. So, how can you get the intimacy back? What can you do or stop doing in order to get the intimacy back into your relationship?
One of the things that we talked about in group was intimacy is a state of mind. Intimacy is a thought. So when my thought leaves from how I feel about you or something sexual or the flowers or something of that nature, my mind is consumed in the other issues.
Mm-hmm.
It could be work, it could be just other things that's going on with me, and it could be things that you have caused or things that I feel that you have caused. So intimacy as a state of mind means that you have to work at it.
Mm-hmm.
You got to put in effort. If you don't put in the effort, you will not have anything good to feel good about. And that's all it is. When we talk about the onset of a relationship and we talk about the comfort and how intimate, how the intimacy is, how good it is, and the sex and all of the things, the touching, the walking, the talking, the dinners, those things are just because our are open to it. Our minds are receptive. If I'm mad at you, it's not going to work.
Mm-hmm.
So, with that being said, how important is intimacy?
I think intimacy is very important in a relationship. That's the thing that keeps a relationship together. But just like you said, when things happen in a relationship, just like I feel like I'm doing all the work and he won't take out the trash and, or she won't, do this for me or that for me. She doesn't cook anymore. We keep eating fast food and all of that stuff. When you get all of those things and you get caught up in all those situations, the intimacy can stop, especially if those things are not resolved or they happen. You have to resolve them. And sometimes resolving them means we agree to disagree or we find another way around it. I can't cook every night because I'm working, I'm taking care of the kids and all of that stuff. So, I'll cook Sunday night, or maybe you can handle some of the cooking and all of that stuff. But those things have to be resolved in order for intimacy to still be in a relationship. I think you can't walk around with a whole lot of pent up frustration and pent up anger or resentment with your partner and there still be intimacy.
I agree. I agree. But when we talk about intimacy and the question of of whether intimacy is important, there's something that we also identified is that male or male to male intimacy and female to female intimacy. Now, when we talk about the ability to share, it's not just the things within the confines of the relationship, it's also who I can talk to. Because when I carry a mental burden, but I can't talk to my wife, and the guys in group talked about how it gets thrown back in their face.
Yeah.
If I share how I really feel, if I share the pressures that's going on with me, do you throw it back in my face? And I heard that a lot. So I also brought up the question of, are males more comfortable talking to other males in an intimate fashion? And we're only talking about the conversation, the ability to share how I really feel.
I don't think I think that males are sometimes comfortable talking to other males. I think sometimes men have a tendency to always want to be macho around other guys and pretend that everything in a relationship is okay. I think men are sometimes comfortable talking intimately with women who they are not, who is not their partner, a woman who's just a friend who's not their partner. Because I know I've had plenty of male friends, and they always can share with me things that they couldn't share with their partner, their female partner, because they felt it was going to be thrown back at them. It was going to be thrown back in their face, or they didn't know how to approach a person about something that may hurt them. So they'll try it out on me first and say, okay, how do you think I should tell this person this? Or, how do you think they're going to react? How can I get around expressing myself without it coming back to haunt she and I later? How can I, frame a sentence or frame those words or frame this conversation
Right.
to have. So, you know, back to your question about intimacy between men and women, I think, yeah, sometimes women have people they can go to or friends they can go to have those intimate conversations. Sometimes, you can, just like that, my male friends used to try it out on me. How is it that I say this? Sometimes women can do that same thing too with their female friends. To say, am I being fair? Am I being a little crazy right now? How do I handle this without it becoming an issue? So sometimes I guess those are the intimate relationships. Stop that for a second.
Okay. Now, what makes intimacy stop in a relationship? That was a very important question because, as we talked a little bit earlier, sometimes things change. And more often, it's a thought that changed or a behavior that changed. So when we talk about what makes intimacy stop, oh, I heard a lot of different things. I mean, they were rattling them off. And that just helped push to the point that it's just a thought. Intimacy, and I also talk about that from a love perspective. Again, I suggested to the group that say that you love her 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times a day. The more that you say, I love you, the more you're staying in a certain zone. And if you can stay in that zone mentally, the outcomes can be really much better.
But you know what? Saying that I love you, you can say that I love you 9, 10 times a day, but if your actions in between those I love you is bad, just like if you saying you calling her bitch 1 minute and the next minute you're saying but I love you, a person's not going to stay in that love zone. They're going to stay that you think I'm in a bitch zone. If you say it out of frustration, because people can, and I'll go back to my first marriage. He could tell me he loved me 10 times a day, but his actions in between those I love you were so ugly.
But he wasn't saying that he loved you 10 times a day.
Well, whenever he screwed up, he always came back with the I love you, but it doesn't matter because now it seems like you're just saying it in order to say it, but your actions in between those I love yous, and it doesn't have to be an action. Nobody's asking that you bring me flowers or you do this or you rub my back and all of that stuff, but just be kind to a person. Just be kind. Saying please or thank you in between those I love yous, another thing too. But it's just, you don't have to go all out or anything like that. Nobody's asking for that. But at least treat me like you treat me. You'll treat your most favorite coworker, and your most favorite coworker you're probably gonna treat real good. So treat me like that. I'm your coworker in this house. So
Well, the key thing what I get from what you're saying is that if I said I love you and I'm just being a good guy in the house, that love feels good. If I say I love you, but I'm being a fool in the house and I'm acting a fool,
it don't even
then
matter.
it doesn't matter.
No.
So you see, it doesn't come down to anything dramatic or significant. It's just simply saying I love you and being a good guy. And if I can say I love you and I'm being a good guy, the love zone, the intimacy, all of that works. And that's the thing. You see, you never want to be a bad person. Because I tell people all the time in group, do not hurt anyone verbally or physically. So now think about that. I love you, and I'm smiling. I'm behaving appropriately. Now you feel good because we didn't lose anything.
And you know what? And when you're a nice person and you say I love you, the fact that you didn't take out the trash, it doesn't bother me so much, because you're a good person. You tell me that you love me. You treat me a certain way. So all those small things don't become big things because, you didn't do this or you didn't put the dishes away last night or something like that. It doesn't matter to me. I'll happily, even if I'm dog tired, put those dishes away because I'm living with a good person, who treats me really good, and makes me feel good every day and tells me that he loves me every day. So those small things don't matter. Those small things start to matter when you don't treat me good, and those little small things start to pile up. Then it's like, nah, because of my mindset about intimacy, no, we're not going to have any intimacy because those small things become big things, because in between not doing those small things, you treat me like crap.